My dear friend. There is a weight that almost every soul carries at some point in life. It is not the weight of what we hold, but the weight of what we cannot release. Letting go. How strange it is, that sometimes we hold on not because it nourishes us, but because it defines us. We cling to people who have already walked out of our story. We cling to memories that cut us like glass. We cling to old identities, to outdated dreams, to the version of ourselves we once were. And though our hands bleed from holding on, we fear opening them. Because to let go feels like losing. But in truth, it is the beginning of freedom. Carl Jung once observed that we do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And one of the greatest darknesses we avoid is the truth of impermanence. Nothing is ours forever, not love, not youth, not even the self we think we are. To let go is to bow to this truth. But why, you may ask, is letting go harder than holding on? Because holding on is familiar. Even pain becomes a comfort if it is known. The human psyche fears the unknown more than it fears suffering. We would rather cling to what hurts us than step into the vast emptiness of what comes next. Letting go feels like death, and in some ways, it is. It is the death of an illusion, the death of a story, the death of a we that will never be again. And the ego trembles before this death. It whispers, better to hold on. Better to stay with what you know. Better the familiar chains than the uncertain sky. Yet, my dear friend, the soul longs not for chains, but for wings. To let go is to trust that the ground will catch you. To let go is to walk into silence and discover it is not empty, it is full. Full of new beginnings, new voices, new parts of yourself waiting to emerge. But here is the paradox, letting go is not something we can do by force. You cannot rip your fingers open before their time. The psyche releases only when it is ready. Just as autumn does not drop its leaves all at once, but lets them fall when the season turns, so too the human heart lets go when it has ripened through grief, through reflection, through quiet courage. Still, we can prepare for that moment. We can soften the grip. We can remind ourselves that life is a river, not a stone. That everything flows, everything changes, and that our clinging does not preserve, it only prolongs our suffering. So ask yourself, what am I truly holding on to? Is it the person, or is it the memory of who I was when they loved me? Is it the dream, or is it the fear of facing life without it? When you begin to see this clearly, you begin to loosen the chains. There is an old story I once heard. A man carried a heavy stone in his backpack for many years. At first, he believed it was precious, perhaps even sacred. He would show it to others, saying, "This stone is my treasure." But as time passed, the stone grew heavier, and his body bent under its weight. One day, someone asked him, "Why don't you set it down?" The man froze. "Because," he said, "if I set it down, who will I be without it?" This is the secret of why letting go feels so hard. It is not only about losing the thing, we fear losing ourselves without the thing. We believe our identity is tied to what we cling to. A relationship, a career, a dream, even a sorrow. We weave it into our story so deeply that releasing it feels like tearing pages out of the book of our life. But Jung reminds us that identity is not fixed. The self is not a stone, it is a living, evolving being. When we let go, we do not lose ourselves. We discover a larger self that has been waiting behind the veil of attachment. And yes, grief will come. There is no letting go without grief. Grief is the soul's way of honoring what once mattered. To deny grief is to deny the love, the effort, the meaning we once invested. So when tears arrive, let them flow. They are not weakness, they are the river carrying you to the other shore. Holding on may feel easier, but it keeps us in repetition. We replay the same arguments in our minds, the same images, the same regrets. It becomes a loop, a prison of memory. Letting go breaks the loop. It feels terrifying because the loop was familiar, but freedom is always unfamiliar at first. Think of a bird in a cage. If you open the door, it may not fly out immediately. The cage has become home, even though it was never meant to be. So too with us, we linger at the threshold, afraid of the sky. But once we take the leap, once we trust our wings, the cage shrinks into nothing. This is why letting go, though harder, is also holier. It demands faith. Faith that what is meant to remain will remain. Faith that emptiness is not the end, but the beginning. And with time, you realize something extraordinary. What you release does not vanish. It becomes part of you in a new way. The love you lost becomes compassion. The failure you endured becomes wisdom. The pain you carried becomes strength. Nothing is wasted. Everything is transformed. So, my friend, when you find yourself unable to let go, do not judge yourself. You are human. You are learning. Simply hold your heart gently and whisper, "When you are ready, you can open." And when the moment comes, you will feel the chains loosen. You will breathe again. And in that breath, you will know, the hardest part was not the letting go. The hardest part was believing you could not survive without holding on. My dear friend, we live much of our lives inside invisible rooms built from our attachments. We say, "I cannot live without this person. I cannot imagine life without this dream. I cannot survive without this identity." But these are not truths, they are illusions whispered by the ego, desperate to keep control. Why do we cling so tightly? Because deep down, we confuse attachment with love, and clinging with safety. To let go feels like betrayal, to the other, to ourselves, to the story we told about our life. And yet, holding on often means betraying the future for the sake of the past. I have met many souls who carried their pain like a badge. One woman once told me, "I will never love again, for I cannot let go of the man who broke me." Another said, "My youth is gone, and with it my worth. I will hold on to those memories, even if they torment me." And a man, bitter from failure, whispered, "I am nothing without the dream I lost. Better to die with it in my hands than live empty." But the tragedy is this, when we clutch the ashes of what once was, we have no hands left to receive what could be. Jung spoke often of transformation, of individuation, the lifelong process of becoming whole. He believed that every experience, even loss, even grief, even the tearing away of something precious, is part of this unfolding. The self, with the capital S, does not shrink when we let go. It expands. It learns new forms, new symbols, new meanings. Imagine a tree in winter. Its branches bare, its leaves gone. If the tree could speak, it might say, "I am dying. Everything I was has fallen away." But in truth, it is not dying. It is preparing for spring. The letting go of the leaves is not the end of its life, it is the renewal of its life. So too with us. Every loss is a season. Every goodbye is an autumn leaf drifting from our hands. The branches feel empty, yes, but emptiness is the womb of growth. Without it, nothing new can blossom. Still, the heart resists. It says, "But what if I let go, and nothing comes back? What if I release this person, and I am left alone forever? What if I drop this dream, and no new dream finds me?" Here lies the root of our fear, the belief that life will not provide. That if we release, we will be abandoned by existence itself. But life, my dear friend, is not a thief. It is a giver. It takes only what is ready to transform. And though we may not see it yet, the soil is always preparing new seeds. Consider the river. It flows because it lets go. If it tried to hold on to every drop of water, it would become stagnant, a swamp. But because it releases, it remains alive, moving, fresh. We too must learn to be rivers, to trust the current, to allow what has passed to pass, and what is coming to come. And yet, letting go does not mean forgetting. It does not mean erasing the love, the dream, the person, or the chapter. It means carrying them in a new way, inside, as part of your soul, not outside, as chains around your wrists. The woman who lost her beloved does not erase him. She learns to carry his memory as tenderness, not torment. The man who failed in his dream does not erase it. He allows it to shape him into someone wiser, humbler, ready for a new path. Letting go is not a rejection, it is a transformation. But to transform, we must walk through grief. And grief is not linear. One day you feel strong, ready to release. The next, you find yourself clinging again, as if no progress was made. Do not despair. Healing is not a straight road, it is a spiral. You may pass the same places again, but each time you are a little higher, a little freer. This is why patience is so important. You cannot force a heart to let go before it is ready. You can only create the space, the gentleness, the awareness that allows it to soften over time. There is another reason letting go feels harder than holding on. Our culture confuses endurance with strength. We are told, never give up. Hold on at any cost. Fight for what is yours. And yes, there is wisdom in perseverance. But there is also wisdom in surrender. To hold on may require strength, but to let go requires greater strength still. Because surrender is not weakness. It is trust. Trust in life, trust in the self, trust in the unknown. Think of a child learning to swim. At first, they cling to the edge of the pool, terrified of drowning. Their knuckles turn white from the grip. The teacher says, "Let go, trust the water." The child resists. But when at last they release, they discover something miraculous, the water holds them up. So it is with us. The unknown is not an abyss, it is water. It carries us, if only we trust. You may ask, How can I begin to let go when the pain feels unbearable? The answer is not to rip the wound open, but to begin with small steps. Start by observing your attachment. Speak to it gently. I see you. I know why you cling. You are trying to protect me. Honor the part of you that fears, but do not obey it blindly. Then, practice loosening, not cutting. Allow yourself moments of distance. If it is a memory, let it fade for an hour. If it is a person, take one step back. If it is a dream, release the idea that it must happen exactly as you imagined. Bit by bit, the grip softens. Jung often spoke of symbols, of dreams, of the language of the unconscious. You may notice dreams where you are dropping things, losing keys, watching doors close. These are not accidents. They are your psyche practicing release, rehearsing an image as what you are learning in life. Pay attention. Your inner world is guiding you toward freedom. Another truth, we cannot truly let go until we forgive. Forgive the person, forgive life, forgive yourself. Without forgiveness, the past remains glued to us. Forgiveness is the solvent that loosens the grip. But remember, forgiveness does not mean saying what happened was right. It means refusing to carry the poison any longer. It means choosing your freedom over your resentment. Sometimes, the hardest letting go is not of another person, but of the self we once were. The younger self, full of ideals, full of innocence. We look back and ache for that version, as though we lost something essential. But here is the secret: you did not lose it. You absorbed it. That younger self still lives within you, like rings within a tree trunk. You are not less than you were, you are more. Yes, letting go is harder than holding on. But holding on keeps you in yesterday. Letting go delivers you into tomorrow. And so, my dear friend, I tell you this: do not fear the emptiness that comes when you release. It is not emptiness, it is space. And space is sacred. It is the open field where new life grows. Someday you will look back and see, what you thought was the end was the beginning. What you thought was loss was liberation. What you thought was death was rebirth. So breathe deeply. Unclench your hands. Whisper to yourself, I trust. And in that trust, step into the river. Let it carry you. You are lighter than you know. My dear friend. If your hands still tremble at the thought of letting go, remember this: every release is not an end, but a return. A return to yourself, to the silence within, to the freedom that was always waiting. You are not what you hold. You are not the person you lost, nor the dream that faded. You are the space that can hold 10,000 beginnings. So when life asks you to let go, do not resist. Bow gently, open your hands, and trust. For in the very moment you release, life places something greater in your palms, yourself, renewed.